There's a certain kind of silence that exists only before the world wakes up. It's a silence that's not empty, but full. It's heavy with potential. It belongs entirely to you. For most of my life, I never heard it. My days began with noise, the shock of an alarm, the immediate rush of obligation, the frantic energy of catching up before I had even begun. I was starting my day already behind, and then I discovered the space between night and day. The 5 a.m. hour. This wasn't about becoming a productivity machine. It wasn't about cramming more tasks into the dark. It was about meeting myself before I was a partner, a professional, a friend. Before I was anyone else's, I could be my own. The first time, it's brutal, the cold floor, the resistance of a body still dreaming, the sheer absurdity of being upright while the world is still asleep. But you push through, you light a candle, you feel the steam from your tea curl into the stillness, and you just sit, and in that sitting, something miraculous happens. The voices in your head, the ones that list your failures, your deadlines, your insecurities, they haven't had their coffee yet. They're still asleep. The person who emerges in that quiet is the most essential version of you, the version before the armor goes on, the one with the quiet dreams, the simple hopes, the uncluttered heart. This became my ritual, not a to-do list, but a to-be list, to be still, to be grateful, to be creative with no one watching, to move my body not as punishment, but as a celebration of its capability. In that sacred hour, I wasn't reacting to the world. I was creating my world. I was setting the tone, the temperature, the very light of my own day. I was writing the first sentence of the story, instead of frantically reading lines someone else had written for me. That 5 a.m. hour, it's a daily declaration, a quiet rebellion against the tyranny of the urgent. It's a promise you make to yourself that you are important enough to be your own first priority. It's not about losing sleep. It's about gaining yourself. We live in an age of overwhelming externality. From the moment our eyes open, we are bombarded. The ping of a notification, the pull of a headline, the needs of others that land in our lap before we've even found our footing. We begin our days in a state of reaction, our minds a chaotic echo chamber of demands and expectations that are not our own. In this context, the traditional understanding of a 5 a.m. routine as a grim, gritty exercise in hyperproductivity, a cold, blooded effort to cram more tasks into the bleary-eyed dark, is a profound misunderstanding of its true potential. This is not about becoming a more efficient machine for the world's consumption. The sacredness of this hour is not found in crossing items off a list, but in the radical act of claiming sovereign space. It is the deliberate, conscious creation of a sanctuary in time, a buffer zone between the vulnerability of sleep and the onslaught of the day. In this space, you are not an employee, a partner, a parent, or a friend. You are temporarily released from the job descriptions that define your waking life. This hour is a political act for your own soul, a declaration of independence from the colonial forces of obligation and urgency. Here you are the sole sovereign. You set the rules. You determine the atmosphere. There is no agenda to follow except the one written by your own spirit. This might look like stillness. It might look like reading a poem that feeds you, not a report that drains you. It might look like moving your body in a way that feels like joy, not like punishment. The specific activity is irrelevant. What matters is the quality of the space. It is an enclosure where you are free to exist without performance, without judgment, without the need to produce anything for anyone else. This sovereign space is the fertile ground where your essential self can re-emerge. It is where you remember who you were before the world told you who you should be. By gifting yourself this territory each day, you are not just managing your time, you are asserting your identity. You are building an inner citadel so strong that when the world does come knocking, it meets not a desperate, empty vessel, but a centered, self-possessed sovereign who can choose how to engage, rather than being swept away by the first current of demand. The architecture of a typical day is built upon a foundation of reaction. The alarm shocks us awake, and we immediately reach for the device that connects us to a world that has already been busy for hours. Emails, news headlines, social updates. These are the first voices to speak into our day, setting the agenda, dictating our priorities, and hijacking our focus before we have even had a moment to locate our own inner compass. We begin in a state of deficit, playing a frantic game of catch-up from the very first minute. The transformational power of the early morning ritual is that it fundamentally inverts this dynamic. It moves you from a posture of reaction to a posture of creation. When you consciously carve out that first golden hour for yourself, you are no longer a passive recipient of the day's chaos. You become its active, intentional author. You are granted the profound privilege of writing the first sentence of the day's story, rather than being forced to read aloud from a script written by someone else's urgency. This is the difference between being a character in a play, frantically trying to remember your lines, and being the playwright, setting the scene, the tone, and the narrative direction. In the quiet of the morning, you get to decide the emotional and mental weather of your own inner world before you step out into the climate of the external one. You can choose to infuse your space with calm through meditation, with energy through movement, or with inspiration through reading. You set the temperature of your own spirit. This proactive creation changes everything when the demands of the world finally do arrive. The inbox, the meetings, the obligations. They are not landing on barren, unprepared soil. They are encountering a consciousness that has already been cultivated, a will that has already been centered, and a spirit that has already been fortified. You are no longer a dinghy tossed by every wave. You have become the lighthouse, a fixed point of light and stability that defines the landscape around it. The day does not happen to you, it unfolds from you. Your responses become more thoughtful, your focus more resilient, and your energy more sustainable, because you are operating from a foundation you built yourself, with intention, in the quiet of the dawn. In our modern economy, attention is the most valuable currency, and from the moment we consent to wakefulness, 1,000 different hands are outstretched, demanding a piece of it. Our days are governed by what can be called the tyranny of the urgent, the constant, shrill demand to address what is immediately pressing, loudly knocking, or artificially deadline-driven. This tyranny steals our focus, our peace, and our sense of agency, convincing us that the loudest problem is the most important one. The 5 a.m. ritual is, at its heart, a quiet but potent rebellion against this usurping power. It is a deliberate, scheduled insurrection for the sovereignty of your own mind. By rising before the world has a chance to make its first claim on you, you are staging a nonviolent coup against the planned takeover of your consciousness. You are declaring that your attention is not public property. You are seizing the means of your own mental production. This is not an act of withdrawal from the world, but an act of preparation for engaging with it on your own terms. It is the strategic decision to fortify your inner citadel before the day's siege begins. In that silent hour, there are no urgent emails because the world is not yet sending them. There are no pressing notifications because the digital kingdom is still asleep. The only thing that is urgent is your own need for stillness. The only pressing matter is the state of your own soul. This rebellion is not fought with weapons, but with silence. Its battlefield is the comfort of your own home, and its victory condition is a single, peaceful hour of self-possession. When you win this battle at the start of the day, you change the entire war. The urgent tasks that arrive later no longer carry the same tyrannical weight. Because you have already affirmed your own priorities in the quiet of the dawn, you can now assess these demands from a position of strength, not desperation. You can triage them based on your own values and goals, rather than their volume or immediacy. You are no longer a subject jumping to obey every decree from the throne of urgency. You have become the ruler of your own time, granting audience to requests from a place of empowered choice. This daily rebellion is the ultimate reclaiming of power. We move through our lives wearing layers of armor: the professional persona, the social facade, the responsible parent, the dependable friend. These roles are not inherently false, but they are constructs, costumes we don to navigate the world. The problem arises when we never take them off, when we forget what we look like beneath the ceremonial dress, We can go days, weeks, even years without checking in with the essential self that resides at the core. The early morning hour provides the sacred private dressing room where this shedding can occur. In the pre-dawn stillness, you are granted a rare and precious opportunity to meet your essential self before the armor goes on. This is the you that exists before the performance begins. It is the unedited version, free from the need to impress, to achieve, or to manage the perceptions of others. This self is not defined by a job title or a relationship status. It is defined by its curiosities, its quiet hopes, its inherent wonders, and its raw, unmediated feelings. This is the self that gets buried under the noise of the day, the one that remembers the dreams you had before you learned to be practical. In the silence, you can hear its voice again. It might speak through the pages of a journal, in the flow of a meditation, or in the simple, unobserved pleasure of watching the sky lighten. This daily reacquaintance is not a passive event. It is an active practice of identity maintenance. It is how you remember who you are at your most fundamental level. You are not your to-do list. You are not your mistakes. You are not the sum of other people's opinions. You are the conscious being who observes all of those things. By starting your day in communion with this core identity, you fortify it. When you later put on the armor required for the day's battles, you do so with the unshakable knowledge that it is just armor. It is a tool, not your truth. The meetings, the deadlines, the conflicts, they happen to the armored version of you, but the essential you, the one that had tea with the dawn, remains untouched, observant, and whole. This practice ensures that the world does not get to define you, because you have already defined yourself in the quiet of the morning. You move through the day not as a collection of reactions, but as a centered, self-aware individual who is merely playing a role, secure in the knowledge of the profound and constant self that exists beneath it. The final and perhaps most transformative outcome of this practice is the fundamental shift from a state of depletion to a state of fullness. For many, life can feel like a slow leak. We wake up already running on a deficit, and each demand of the day, the difficult conversation, the tedious commute, the unexpected crisis, drains our reserves a little further. By evening, we are running on emotional and spiritual fumes, with nothing left to give to ourselves or to those we love. We are empty cups trying to pour out what we do not have. The sacred morning hour is the time when you deliberately and consistently fill your own cup. This is not a selfish act. It is the most responsible thing you can do for yourself and for everyone who depends on you. It is the principle of the oxygen mask on an airplane. You must secure your own before you can assist others. When you begin your day by nourishing your spirit, you are making a deposit into your own inner bank. You are investing in your peace, your clarity, and your resilience. The activities of this hour, whether meditation, reading, creating, or moving your body, are not tasks to be completed. They are rituals of replenishment. They are the ways in which you consciously choose what to pour into the vessel of your being before the world starts trying to take things out. This changes your entire orientation to the day's challenges. When a stressful situation arises, you are not meeting it from a place of scarcity and fear, having already given away all your energy. You are meeting it from a place of abundance and capacity, because you have a reserve to draw upon. The noise and demands of the world no longer have the power to completely derail you, because your center of gravity is no longer out there in the chaos. Your center of gravity is within you, in the fullness you cultivated in the quiet of the morning. You face the chaos from a place of inner quiet. You engage with the demands from a foundation of inner calm. The external circumstances may be the same, but you are fundamentally different. You are no longer a victim of the day's energy. You are the source of your own. This practice of self-prioritization is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is a daily declaration that your well-being is not negotiable, that your spirit is worth nurturing, and that you cannot give to the world what you have not first given to yourself. From this place of fullness, everything changes. Your work becomes more focused, your relationships become more patient, and your life becomes not a thing to be survived, but an experience to be lived from a deep and overflowing well.